Hello, 6th graders. Welcome to Big Ideas Math, Contract Math, Section 9.3, Surface Area of Cylinders lesson. Pause while you write today's lesson in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's objective is to find the surface area of a cylinder using a formula. Example 1. Finding the surface area of a cylinder. The first thing we do is draw a net of our cylinder. So over here we have our cylinder, and over to the right we have a net. Now notice that the blue in the middle, which is over here on our cylinder, is a rectangle when we lay it all out and flatten it. Now let's take a look at the formula that's given to us. S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h, which is, the h is height. And I'm going to label all of our numbers here. Now the r is radius, which is 4, so there's my radius. And the h is height, which is 3. So here's my height, 3. Now when we plug those numbers into our formula, we have here on the next line 2 pi, and we just said that 4 was our radius, so that's why there's a 4 in the parentheses, and we square that, plus 2 pi, again, our radius is 4. And then we also plug in that height in that second half of our formula. So that's why there's a 3 in there. So we get 32 pi, down on the next line, 32 pi plus 24 pi equals 56 pi. And we are rounding to the nearest tenth, so when we calculate that, we get 175.8 for the surface area. Example 2. Finding surface area. How much paper is used for the label on the can of peas over here? Now this is similar to example 1, only we are not finding the we're not including the bases. So we're not going to include the top and the bottom. We are only going to be finding the area of the lateral surface, which is in here. Now, since we're not including the bases in this formula, we're going to be using this. Surface area equals 2 pi r h. So we substitute our numbers in, and let's label these like we did in example 1. Here's our 1 is our radius, and 2 is the height. So we plug in 1 for our radius and 2 for our height, and we get 4 pi, which equals 12.56, and that gives us about 12.56 square inches of paper used for the label. Example 3, a real-life application. You earn 1 cent for recycling the can in example 2. How much can you expect to earn for recycling the tomato can? Assume that the recycle value is proportional to the surface area. Now we are using the can of peas that was in example 2 on the previous slide. So keep that in mind when we're finding the surface area of that can. Now let's find the surface area of the tomato can. And that's going to be over here on the left side. So we have S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Let's label. There's my radius, and here's my height. Now we get, when we plug our numbers in, we get 2 pi, radius is 2, squared, and plus 2 pi, our radius again is 2, and then we plug in our height, which is 5.5. So we get 8 pi plus 22 pi equals 30 pi. Now over here, for the peas, the can of peas, again we use the same formula, but we had different numbers. We had our radius equaling 1 and our height equal 2. So when we plug those numbers in, we get 2 pi 1 squared plus 2 pi times 1 times 2. We do the math and we're left with 6 pi. Now use a proportion to find the recycle value x of the tomato can. Now we're using a proportion, which means we're going to have our surface area on the top. So on the left hand side we have over here, we have 30 pi, which is what we got for our tomato can for surface area. And then on the same line, we're going to have 6 pi here for our surface area of the can of peas. Now we know that up here it tells us that we earn 1 cent for recycling the can of peas. So that is why there's a 1 cent down here. And then we are trying to figure out how much we'll earn for recycling the tomato can. So we have an X down there. Now we cross multiply. We have 30 pi times 1 cent, which is what you see right here, equals x times 6 pi, which is what you see here. We want to get x by itself, so we divide each side by 6 pi. So here's our x, we want to get it by itself. If we divide this side by 6 pi, 30 pi divided by 6 pi is 5. So we have 5 times our 1 cent equals x. And then we simplify and we have 5 cents equals x. So we can expect to earn 5 cents for recycling the tomato can. Your assignment for this lesson is to complete the On Your Own problems 1 through 3 on pages 370 through 371 in your online Big Ideas 2014 book. Do the work in your notebook and be prepared to share your work during our next class.
Remember, to earn credit for viewing this flipped lesson, you need to complete your exit slip, come to our next class prepared with the journal pages or other work from the flipped lesson completed, be prepared with any work that was assigned in the flipped lesson completed, and be prepared with any questions you have for your teacher, and of course have a good attitude.